Hello and welcome to Asia Calling, your window on Asia. In today's program, a temple to motorbikes in India. Also a charity in Vietnam using leftover restaurant food to feed the poor. Welcome to the program. I'm Rebecca Henschke. "16 years after a people's uprising ended the 3-decade-long rule of General Soeharto, a growing number of Indonesians are looking back fondly on his reign. They say that amongst other things, it was a time when goods and petrol were cheaper, and many people think the charms of the current reformasi period have long since faded. Corruption is rampant, and elected politicians have disappointed many. It's in this context that a new Suharto memorial was opened this year in central Java, paid for by the former president's family. Rio Rizalino went to take a look. Chris Woyo has brought his students on an overnight train from Jakarta to Yogyakarta so they can come here to this new museum dedicated to the life of former President Suharto.
Pengen tahu sejarah presiden kita yang dulu ya, Pak Suharto, terus ya sambil napak tilas saja gitu. Pengen tahu tempat-tempatnya juga seperti ini. Ternyata anak-anak antusias sekali gitu.
His students are too young to remember what it was like living under Suharto's 3-decade-long rule. And given that the museum was paid for by Suharto's family, the students, not surprisingly, are being given a very positive picture of that time.
Tujuannya sendiri yang paling utama adalah untuk mengenang dari jasa-jasa Bapak Jenderal Besar Haji Muhammad Soeharto, mengenang jasa-jasa yang telah diberikan ke bangsa Indonesia dalam masa-masa perjuangannya, sekaligus untuk mengenang dan mengenalkan tanah kelahiran dari Bapak Haji Muhammad Soeharto, karena beliau dilahirkan di tempat ini, Mas. Ya, harapannya dari pengelola itu masyarakat bisa mengenal tentang apa yang ada di dalam memorial ini, tentang perjalanan hidup dari Bapak Jenderal Besar Haji Muhammad Soeharto, dan juga sebagai kajian untuk mengenang jasa-jasanya dari Bapak Jenderal Besar Haji Muhammad Soeharto.
There is no mention here of Suharto being named the world's most corrupt leader by anti-corruption monitor Transparency International in 2004. Nowhere in the museum will you find the allegations that he misappropriated up to $35 billion during his rule. But visitors will find plenty of information about his time in power.
Ini saja ya, lebih tahu siapa yang merebut Irian Jaya waktu dulu, terus ya kesan-kesan apa yang dia berikan kepada Indonesia.
Around 10 kilometres away from the museum in the bustling markets of Malioboro, Suharto's face has also made a comeback.
Kalau orang suka beli kaos Soeharto tuh karena apa, Mas? Tahu nggak?
Ya sosoknya beliau lah, Mas. Kalau dikata-katanya ini kan memang penak zamanku gitu kan. Memang kalau orang bilangnya enak zamannya Pak Harto karena Bapak murah.
It's not clear who first designed the Suharto T-shirt. There are at least 5 designs, all with the signature smile of Suharto. Anto says he sells up to 60 of these T-shirts a month.
Biasanya yang beli dari mana aja tuh?
Semua ya, Mas. Bahkan sampai bule pun ada yang beli karena dia suka figurnya Pak Harto.
Suharto's former son-in-law, Prabowo Subianto, is using Suharto's image in his campaign to become Indonesia's next president. His election team includes Golkar Party chairman Abu Rizal Bakri.
Kita tahu selama 32 tahun itu dengan pimpinan Presiden Soeharto yang adalah salah satu mendirikan Golkar, beliau mengatakan bahwa Indonesia ini harus sejahtera. Alhamdulillah, saya ingin tanyakan, apakah saudara-saudara setuju bahwa memang Indonesia maju? Setuju? Setuju!
What Prabowo's campaign team is hoping the public will forget are the gross human rights abuses that took place during the Suharto era. The killing and abduction of students in the 1990s, the mass killings in Aceh and East Timor, and one of the worst atrocities of the 20th century, the massacre of suspected members of the Communist Party in the 1960s.
Kenjer.
80-year-old Mbakano was working as a teacher in a village in East Java when he was accused of being a communist. Without trial, he was tortured and thrown in jail.
Jadi saya untuk paham Marxisme ini tidak tahu, MDA tidak tahu, sampai sekarang demi Allah tidak tahu, iya tidak tahu. Jadi saya pernah dididik di partai, tidak pernah demi Allah. Saya aja tugasnya itu hanya ngajar, iya kan.
Suharto blamed a failed coup on the communists and outlawed the party. Indonesia's National Commission on Human Rights estimates that in the purge that followed, between 500,000 to 1 million people were killed. Mbakano managed to survive, but says he was severely tortured.
Ya hanya dipukuli, tidak pernah di pengadilan, tidak pernah. Saya merasa, yaitu kalau jawabnya salah, pukul. Saya mengiyakan saja bisanya supaya tidak dipukuli, tapi mengiyakan itu ada risiko. Risikonya dibunuh itu.
Asfi Wamana Adam, Indonesia's leading historian on this period of history, has no doubts about who was responsible.
Ini kan kita pertanyakan siapa yang bertanggung jawab terhadap itu. Soekarno jelas dia tidak memegang komando lagi pada saat itu. Bahkan dia meminta supaya pembunuhan itu dihentikan gitu. Nah, Soeharto adalah orang yang menugaskan operasi-operasi militer pemberantasan G30S itu.
A documentary about this dark period of Indonesia's history was nominated for an Oscar this year, but it can't be released in Indonesian cinemas. At the new Suharto Museum, there's no mention of the 1960s killings or any of the other abuses that happened during Suharto's rule.
Belum percaya, Mas. Karena belum ada bukti-bukti yang memang itu menyatakan bersalah.
Mbakano, who has lived with the label of being an ex-political prisoner and a traitor all his life, would like to have his name cleared.
Semoga nasib saya dan teman-teman saya yang tidak dosa itu diberi keistimewaan, atau mungkin dia membantu kita untuk rehabilitasi dan untuk kompensasi ya.
Indonesia's Human Rights Commission is calling for that to happen. And rival presidential candidate Joko Widodo has indicated that he will push for justice for the victims of past human rights abuses in Indonesia. Indonesians go to the polls next month to decide both their future and their past.